Movies is one avenue where culture speaks. Martin Luther engaged with the printing press. Christians have engaged with music. Christians have engaged with arts. Look at the Renaissance and Reformation painting that is there very much. It's a powerful medium.
Absolutely.
The medium of movies is such a powerful medium.
Yeah.
Why did Shawshank Redemption touch? Why is it high on IMDb?
Yeah.
Why is that? Because there is something about the gospel story that is embedded in this particular story that resonates, that touches our hearts. One of the things about the last temptation of Christ is Jesus is reading Daniel, and he begins to understand that he is the one Daniel is talking about. That it's one thing to think that baby Jesus or 5-year-old Jesus absolutely knows he's the Messiah and then good. It's another thing to look into his humanity and for him to come to terms with the fact that he is the one who is the Messiah, who is delivering that.
Hello, Jacob. Thank you so much for coming for our program. Today's topic itself is about movies, and I want to break down about like movies and the themes that are there in the movies. There are. I am someone who believes even you can take any movies and break it down some way or the other. It's you can actually connect it to the Bible. So you run a social media channel called Culture Unraveled. And that's what you do in that, right? So can you elaborate more, like what overall, how do you do it?
Yeah. So, what we wanted to do with Culture Unraveled was how do we as Christians engage with our culture? Okay. So, this idea is that culture is always communicating to us.
Yeah.
Okay. Movies, music, novels, video games, these are the channels through which culture communicates. So, culture is always speaking. Okay. And it's channelizes, it communicates to us through all of these channels. So, in that sense, movies is one avenue where culture speaks and culture shapes us. It's Dostoevsky who says first art imitates life, then life imitates art, then life will gain its very meaning from the arts. So these are very strong mediums that are shaping the world that is around us.
Yeah.
Okay. And so movies, because primarily I'm interested in movies, and so a lot of our reviews are, a lot of our engagement is with movies, but we want to put movies as one part of culture, how culture communicates, how it speaks to us. Yeah.
So before that, I wanted to ask, like, what's your, like, how did your love for movies begin? Was it like always like from childhood, or was it something you fell in love with?
Yeah, definitely from childhood. I think the power of movies to be able to take you, for 2.5 hours, it just kind of encapsulates you into the movies are very powerful. There's this sociological report which says there was this Indian movie called Jay Santoshi Ma that came, and it came around, I think, 70s, 80s, and things like that. And the people who were entering the theater were leaving their chappals outside while watching this movie,
Okay.
which meant that they are converting the theater into a temple, and later on she becomes one of the goddesses that is there within the Hindu pantheon. So movies are deeply, they shape, they really, really shape our cultures. If you look into Tamil Nadu politics, they're primarily shaped by the movies that they not just Tamil Nadu, like world politics that is there in things. So, sorry, your question was how for me, no, my interest in movies, just that the power it had to just take me into another world, for these 2.5 hours, and the impact. I started thinking in movies, so even when you think, I think of a dialogue that someone else has said, I think, and it stays in your head.
Yeah.
It imprints its ideas in its head. Yeah.
So, what was the last movie that you watched? That you saw that, and you somehow you were able to connect that to like the themes in the Bible or the characters or anything in the Bible.
The thing. I think the last movie that I watched was Hail Mary, which is it's a science fiction movie with Ryan Gosling.
Project Hail Mary.
Project Hail Mary. Project Hail Mary was there. I thought that was like a really interesting movie. Primarily, I mean, not to give any spoilers here, but it's definitely talking about sacrifice. It's talking about courage that is there.
Hmm.
It's just interesting for me that, see, once you decide to look at these things theologically, you can't help but see these themes emerging from this movie.
Yeah.
And I primarily think that because we are made in the image of God, every human being is made in the image of God, that idea is so deeply intrinsic that it emerges through whatever arts that we do. A movie is a form of art. Like, why is it that in every movie you want good to win over evil? That's a very common thing that is there. Why is that idea there? Why can't a movie just end with the villain winning, and it's just bad? But that's not a resolution to the human condition that is there. So I think, yeah, I felt, so for this movie, I felt Project Hail Mary was like very well done. That is there. And of course, there are very clear theological themes. It's called Hail Mary, so yeah, I think that was the last one. I don't know how to speak about it without kind of spoiling certain aspects of the movie that was there. But I also saw One Battle After Another, which is like completely woke. I think it is very leftist woke, which is also revealing. It's revealing the type of mindset that was there. Yeah,
I watched it in theater. It was really quite the experience watching that movie.
correct, correct, correct. Yeah, recently. Then I saw recently a Malayalam movie called Prati Chaya, which was really nice. It was in a Malayalam political movie, and I thought that was also very very much to do with the father and son. The role the son takes up the mantle for the father. So that was an interesting movie.
One of the I mean, just last week actually, I went and watched Jaws, the original one that came out in the 70s, right?
Steven
Yeah.
Spielberg.
So when I was like thinking of like preparing for the questions, I was like thinking like that because when I was thinking like what's the last movie I watched, it is Jaws. And I was like thinking, how can you connect a shark movie to Bible? But the thing is, if you watch that movie, they break down into multiple themes. One is the movie is psychological more than a shark movie, right?
Yeah.
It is the scary parts of the movie is not the shark, it is the one which does not have the shark.
Correct.
So one of the things the storytelling in that is it's the fear of the unknown.
Yes.
Yeah, and you see that throughout the Bible, when like when there's a calling, God has, given some person that, that this is the calling that God has given.
Yeah.
And that itself is scary for so many people.
Yeah.
And when you see that, you can connect in that way. And also one of the thing movie discusses is also like the politics that happens within that town.
Yeah.
And because of that, how they had to shut down the beach, and the mayor didn't want to shut down the beach because it was summer. That ended up, more lives went because of that. And you saw the politics between that. And the thing is, like, that one decision that they made could have, one life would have been saved if he made the decision of shutting the beach. And you also see that kind of regrets you see in the Bible, how many characters regret making such sort of a decisions, and you eventually, and there's a lot of regret that goes with it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's very,
Very
interesting.
symbolic, very thing. Yeah, there's so many layers, no, to these things. Absolutely.
But do you remember like any of the first movie that you watched that you felt like you somehow were able to connect it to Bible? Do you remember that?
I don't remember the first thing that I watched. Um, but like I said, that this idea was always there. Whenever I watch
From the
something,
beginning.
from the beginning, from I would say like from very early on. Just how this thing. Also, that was our dinner table discussion between my brother, me, I think my dad. So I think some of those things very naturally came, especially with the other people in my team who engage with different movies. I think when they give a perspective, it's very interesting for me. Like I think in one particular way. So when I watch, I connect it. But others, when they watch it, they bring something else altogether, like a completely different theme that I wasn't even thinking about. Okay, like how did you even think of loneliness in as a theme for this? I wasn't even thinking of that. So I think it's just interesting when I speak to others. So once a month, what we do is we bring on our Culture Unraveled play. We have a community event where we either go for a play or we watch a movie together or we go for like a music show together. And it's primarily like 10 people who come, then watch it, and then after that we sit together and discuss. I found that to be a very meaningful exercise that is there, just to see the different ways in which different people think. But it's very interesting. Inevitably, whoever we are, the conversation finally leads to God. finally leads to religion.
Wow.
In some, it could be whatever we are watching. And I don't think, at least I would like to believe, I'm not orchestrating the conversations. So the person here, we're not kind of orchestrating it. It organically flows in that particular way. So I think there are different things that you can get, but I would say always there is a dominant theme. Okay, there's definitely a dominant theme within these things. So there's a good way of doing movie analysis, and then there are maybe lesser ways of doing a movie analysis. Because if you say, okay, the major theme of this thing was about a relation, romantic love, and there was just one small scene about that in the movie, then that's not what the whole movie is talking about. So a theme, a larger theme would be, what is that one big idea that this movie is trying to convey, from which other smaller ideas are also connecting with it. So there are different tools by which we can understand and we can look
I
at.
think for me, because I got into movies much later, for me, I remember. Like, I remember when I watched Shawshank Redemption for the first time.
Yeah.
And when you watch the movie is about redemption.
Yeah.
Yeah, the movie is about how, like, the fact that, he wants to escape from a place that was built to kill people and to keep people over there.
Yeah.
And from that, he was able to escape, but it took him like more than 10, 15 years or something like that.
Yeah.
The moment I remember watching the first time, I didn't connect much, but second time I watched it, it really resonated with like Joseph's story for me.
Oh, okay.
The moment I watched,
How so, Joseph?
I think the whole journey, he went to Egypt at a very young age, and he was in prison for like what, 20 years or something,
And
almost.
wrongly put,
Yeah,
no? Like he was
for a
innocent.
really long time, and it was unfortunate that he ended up getting accused as well. And then he went to prison. He was there for 20 years, but eventually he was angry. He was really upset with what happened. But I think eventually the fact that he became the governor of Egypt, and he became the most powerful person after Pharaoh over there.
Yeah.
But still, 20 years. It took him 20 years to get out of prison and be in that position.
Yeah.
Same thing. It really, I felt like that when I watched that movie.
Yeah,
It took him
absolutely.
15 years to escape from that prison.
Yeah.
But eventually, when you got out, there's one scene where he's in the like he's completely free, and you see him like showing his hands.
Yeah.
Basically symbolizing like freedom.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So like
Out and
yeah,
training and
he
things
shows
like
his
that.
hands
Yeah,
like this. Yeah.
absolutely.
So
Yeah. See, there's this very interesting video essay by this person called Logos Made Flesh. I don't know where he is showing like the exact Christian symbolism. Like even Joseph is a prototype of Jesus. No, it's a typology of Jesus. Where you have this person. What's the guy? What's his name? What's Tim Robbins' character in Shawshank Redemption?
Andrew.
Yeah.
Andy
Dufresne,
Dufresne.
no? Andy Dufresne. Like he's an innocent man, okay, who's wrongly accused, and he's entering into this world. So he's incarnating into this world. In the process, he's also liberating those around him. Morgan Freeman's character and things. He's a deep testimony that is there. And then he goes into the tunnel, going into the tunnel, and then coming out of that thing. So you see the gospel story encoded into this. Like, why did Shawshank Redemption touch? Why is it high on IMDb? Why is it? Because there is something about the gospel story that is embedded in this particular story that resonates, that touches our hearts. I think that's a good way for us to think of these movies. Sometimes we, as Christians, we look at, okay, these movies like God's Not Dead, or which is very low artistic quality, very overtly, Christian that is there, but they're not artistic, in that sense. They've not lend itself to the medium of movies or the cinema, the aesthetic of movies. Whereas these other movies, even if you look into Martin Scorsese's movies, they are deeply trying. They're deeply theological.
Very character driven.
They're very character driven and very, I would say, very gospel driven. Even though it's violence, at the end of it, he is showing that violence ultimately leads to other violence that is there. There is no redemption. The only way is if you're able to break out of that.
Yeah. He grew up in a Catholic household, so he's mentioned it multiple times, like how religion was like
Martin Scorsese.
Scorsese.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was crucial
Martin
part of it.
Scorsese, he joined a seminary, but he felt like this was too high a calling, and his calling is actually to make movies, but he's going to do it as a priest. So it's a priest. So definitely there are those kind of elements. I'm not saying that he's a perfect priest and things like that, but you would look at it and say, how is this a Christian movie?
Christian movie.
But he has made, like, he's made Last Temptation of
Yeah,
Christ.
very
and
controversial.
It's a very controversial.
But no, but the thing is, when you watch, if you watch that movie definitely became very controversial. But his thing was he wanted to focus as Jesus, the human being.
Human being.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting. Jesus, the human being. See, we would say, like, one of the things about the Last Temptation of Christ is Jesus is reading Daniel, and he begins to understand that he is the one Daniel is talking about, that he is the Son of Man, and he has to grapple with this identity.
Yeah.
It's one thing to think that baby Jesus or 5-year-old Jesus absolutely knows he's the Messiah and then God. It's another thing to look into his humanity and for him to come to terms with the fact that he is the one who is the Messiah, who is delivering that.
Yeah.
And so his emphasis is on the humanity of Jesus,
Yeah.
and that's what he is focusing on. Even his movie Silence.
Yeah, I've seen it.
It's such a beautiful movie. It's a Jesuit priest going into Japan, because one priest has gone away from Christ and trying to understand. So yeah, I think there's a way to, what does it look like to show that movie in church and to think about it.
I think
in
that's
that
what I
way.
really like about your channel, that you take movies and you break it down and you make people understand how it can be connected to the Bible. And I don't know why it's so negative in in Christian households, watching a movie, it's considered like an evil thing
Yeah.
or something. But when you actually break down like this, you can see how it changed. So in your channel, is there any like from like viewers or something where like their response where they themselves were never noticed the connection that they could make from that movie to the to Bible that you guys would have done?
Yeah.
And they themselves were surprised by it. Have there been instances like that?
What a surprise is some comments that we get. We were like, oh, this is such an interesting way of looking at it. So in that sense, there's been like a two-way understanding of. There's also critique. No, I don't think that. So there's also been like pushback that is there. I think we've learned a lot in and through that. But I really value those comments and engagement. And definitely, it just gives them a new way, new lens to look at it.
Absolutely.
It gives them a new ways to look at it. See, but the thing is, see, Christians throughout history have engaged. So Martin Luther engaged with the printing press. So printing press was a new technological revolution. He engaged, because of which there's been amazing Christian literature because of that. Christians have engaged with music. Okay, all amazing music, and so music. Christians have engaged with arts. Look at the Renaissance and Reformation painting that is there very much, with architecture. When the radio came out, they were a little skeptical and then they engaged. Movies has not been something that Christians have been very readily engaged with. Okay, though Catholics in Kerala have very much engaged with the medium of movies. So I think there is some sort of, I don't know what reason there is. Growing up, the comments were like, if Jesus was with you, would you take him to a theater? I think theater was not looked at as a place of like a place that Christian would go, exactly because of the way it's been abused or whatever. I don't know how much of that thinking now is dominant. I feel like definitely there is changing, or it's something that they're doing, but they're hiding it and they're saying this is like, in the sense the church is unaware of it. But I think there's no escaping it. All of them are engaged with movies in some form or the other. There.
So as we're coming to the end of the conversation, I just wanted to ask you, like, since this is what you do, still there are people, I think they're I think because of growing up like that, they're still connecting movies like that, to movie themes and movies. Connecting that to the Bible is still something, it's almost unheard for them. It's like something they can't. So what would you like to tell to the people like that, how movies can actually connect in such a deep way?
Yeah, if I could speak to both ends of the spectrum, see, initially also, when I was doing it, I had a major pushback from my father, saying that, okay, fine, you going to seminary was your choice, but now you're doing movies. Like, what does this have to do with? But now he's the one who sends me certain things, and,
Recommendations.
like recommendation. You should watch this movie. You should look at. I think on both ends of the spectrum. I think there are people, maybe people with my inclination, who's very much readily willing to be accepting of this and engaging. I think our word, maybe we should, there is some element of caution, okay, that we need to. Now, I understood at one time, not everything is good. There are certain things I do not want to engage. And even with my kids now, there are certain things I do not want them, certain cartoons that I feel, not because of its, but just because of the type of ideologies and things like that that are coming in, I wouldn't want to show them. So I think those who are a lot more open-ended, all right, maybe you could think of what does it mean to be a little more cautious about what you are watching. Like that. Those who are completely closed off, what does it mean for them to be a little more open, to think, maybe be selective about what you are watching, but maybe take that jump and watch it together, But whatever we do it as Christians, That's what I would like to say. It's not that you suddenly wear a secular hat.
Yeah, yeah.
There's the thing. There is not a square inch that Jesus does not claim to be mine. This is God's world. All forms of arts are His. That is there. I think we as Christians have to navigate this world, all right, and see what can we engage, what can we assimilate, and let's say this is a powerful medium.
Absolutely,
The medium
yeah.
of movies is such a powerful medium.
Yeah.
2.5. It's like what they say is the last bastion of religion, because in the theater you have hundreds of people coming, sitting quietly, paying attention, giving mind space to this particular thing. It's so powerful. So my thing is, what I am doing is I'm engaging. But what does it actually mean for Christians who have artistic abilities to make movies? What does it mean for them to enter into this movie space? What does it mean to provide an environment that breeds creative artists who can get into this space and not just make sub quality, type of very overt evangelistic content. That's one element of it, but to make great content, but very deeply resonates the kingdom of God within that. Maybe that is something, that's a conversation worth having.
Yeah.
Not just a conversation, that's worth thinking about, creating spaces for, channelizing it, encouraging it. Maybe that's something worth doing.
I mean, that's the thing. I think I'm a believer of like you can actually connect movies with Bible. It's a lot easier than people might think because in the end of the day, movies, like you mentioned, right? It talks about life.
Yeah.
It is teaching you about like what people are going through life, and it is showing that. And same thing, Bible is also showing you the exact same thing,
Yeah.
right? It's showing you people's lives and what they have gone through, and how they've held on to God in those
Absolutely.
whatever situations that they've been in his life. So it is not so. I think that's why you can connect. When a film teaches about life, so does Bible. So it's
Absolutely.
absolutely easy to connect.